he's always late. Oh, no, he's always late. He's late again. Yo, do you guys remember when I used to yell a lot more into the microphone? Maybe for old time's sake, we just give it a little... Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter that was like, you know what, I really appreciate that you stopped yelling into the microphone as much. And I was like, what the fuck? Anyway, okay, let's do this. Here we go. Welcome back to the Den of Nerds. I am Josh, and we have a fantastic show for you today. The news continues to be a little bit slow. It almost feels like a lot of things are in motion. A lot of things might begin to come out soon, but for now, news is a little bit slow. However, we do have two pretty interesting stories to go over today. One, Warner Brothers is totally fucked. And the thing that's weird about this, and I want to get into the article, I want to explain what's going on, because you might be like, wait a minute, what? Like, how, why, what, when, where? This doesn't make any sense. Minecraft is killing it. Chicken Jockey, you know, Penguin was so good. Superman, you know, all this stuff. And Warner Brothers technically has, Sinners out right now. Final Destination is doing well for them, and they do have the top movie of the year in Minecraft, right? But as I've been explaining over the past couple of weeks, if you take a look at the actual financials, it looks really bad. Warner Brothers is basically screwed because even though they have the top movies, Hollywood is dead, and Hollywood is going away. So it's not even valuable anymore. So I'm being a bit facetious there, but at the same time, they literally had their credit downgraded yesterday. Okay, and so there was a big article that came out about this. I want to explain it because it's wild, and it also shows us a couple of things. I think it sort of crystallizes the state of the industry a little, what's going on in Hollywood, how it's over. And it also is really wild to look at what's going on with Warner Brothers as compared to Disney. You know, one of the other things that's kind of interesting about this is, if you look at the top movies of the year, the top 4 movies of the year this year, I believe they're Minecraft, Captain America, Thunderbolts, and Sinners. I believe those are the top 4 grossing movies of the year so far. So we talk a lot about Disney and how Marvel has fallen off and how the latest 2 entries are bombs, and that's crazy. At the same time, that is the upper end of what Hollywood is making this year, which is like pretty wild, pretty fascinating. And so I thought it would be a good time to dig in. You know, this is something that I've been speaking about, and then all of a sudden a trade article comes out and they literally get their credit downgraded. It's pretty wild. So I want to explain it. We'll get into the article. We'll read it together. Obviously, we'll speculate about what this means for Warner Brothers. What does this mean for James Gunn's Superman, for the DCU? A lot of things could happen when it comes to Warner Brothers. A lot of things have already happened. So we will get into that and all of the things it might mean. Oh my God, we're going through quite a time, ladies and gentlemen. On top of that, yesterday, while we were live, actually, there was a pretty crazy leak that came out about the Sentry. And this leak was cool. I thought to myself, you know what? I'll talk about this tomorrow. I wonder if anybody else will chime in, add anything to this story. Because we don't know 100% what it means, right? I have some speculation. But weirdly, not only did nobody come forward, but everybody's afraid to talk about this for some reason. There's nobody talking about it. All the images have been taken down from social media. A lot of the Reddit groups that I frequent that go over leaks and rumors, they're not talking about this at all. It's really weird. It feels like there's some effort to either avoid talking about this, or maybe it's just so confusing people are not sure what it means. We will get into it all. I will explain everything we know for sure, what we think some of those names and concepts mean from the map, and how Sentry might be used in Avengers Doomsday. There are some interesting comments made by Pullman himself when he was talking about the character, when he was talking about how he hasn't read any scripts for Doomsday. There's a lot of interesting stuff. Some people believe that this could connect to that piece from the concept art, right? And in that concept art, you saw a bunch of stuff that appeared to be on Battleworld connected to God Emperor Doom. One of them was somebody who's chained up, and it looks to be like they're on fire. Now, a lot of people thought that could be Sentry right then and there. And so we'll get into all of that. We'll speculate about how Sentry could be used by either Doctor Doom or the Avengers. What is the deal with all of that? On top of that, there's one other, like, very minor but pretty freaking cool piece of information. People have been out there talking about what Doctor Doom is actually going to look like. This comes a bit from Chris Gore, actually, and there's some other people that have been discussing this, but it has to do with the disfiguration of Doctor Doom. But what's wild about that is apparently his face, it's important that he has his face and that he looks like Tony Stark. So how does that work together? Like, it's a little bit confusing. So we'll go over it. I'll speculate about it. And then, of course, we will jump into Q&A later today, as we always do. Should be a good show for you here on a Wednesday. You know, I almost did the Warhammer stream today. I was thinking about it. I wrote a bunch of notes down. And I was basically like, you know what? I think I need literally a bigger whiteboard. But I am getting ready for that stream. And you might be like, wait, what? Warhammer, what the hell? Yeah, what it means is this. I'm going to do a stream where I try to explain all of Warhammer's lore, literally all of it, the entire timeline, in a single stream. And trust me, as I've been working on the notes for this thing, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. So we'll do that maybe even this week. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow if there's no news. I mean, again, news has been so light this week that maybe we'd find room to do it even tomorrow. So we'll see. I'm kind of cooking that up slowly. I'm working on some other video ideas and whatnot as well. But yeah, we're kind of in like that slow period. Doomsday's filming. Superman is wrapped. It's beginning promotion very soon. We should be getting a lot more like teasers, TV spots, etc. for Fantastic Four and Superman in general. And then as Marvel gets closer to San Diego Comic-Con, I think a lot of crazy stuff is going to leak out. So we're kind of like waiting to see what other stuff will come out from the Doomsday set. This guy that hopped the fence, I mean, how much more does he have? We're going to find out. It's pretty crazy. And then, yeah, as we get closer towards the summertime with the big movies there and San Diego Comic-Con, there should be a lot of exciting news. I said this before, but I'm actually dead ass, right? I'm not watching any more Disney Plus shows this year, man. I'm not doing it. I'll watch Ahsoka season 2. But other than that, I am all good on your Marvel Disney Plus shows, your Star Wars Disney Plus. I'm not watching any of them. So, yeah, no Ironheart for your boy. You will have to let me know if it's good. You will have to let me know if it's really, really good. And if a ton of you are like, dude, it's really, 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 really good, maybe I'll check it out. But other than that, nope. I am taking a little break from the Marvel content. That is so that I can do better at enjoying the aspects of Marvel that I do enjoy. You know what I mean? There's no sense in setting myself up for a bunch of disappointment. And frankly, if Daredevil Born Again couldn't get me excited and actually became fucking torturous for weeks, which to me it was, I don't really know that there's a lot of goodwill left for me to extend to the studio to make television. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I'm at, and I don't mean to be a dick about it or whatever. You know, I don't mean to make it a thing, but that's really how I feel. I'd rather work on content around Doomsday, X-Men, and Secret Wars, and also, oh my God, am I cooking some Warhammer content, man? I've been writing Warhammer scripts, I'm very excited for Warhammer and my pivot totally and completely into that IP and franchise. Okay, now. Shout tweet. Oh, you know what? One last thing I should mention. We are doing a Nerd Avenger stream tonight at 7:30. We're going to play some Marvel Rivals. I'm excited. We haven't got together for a while to play Marvel Rivals. So we're going to get together. I want to play a little with you guys. We'll team up. We'll do a little bit of, matchmaking. And then we'll set up a custom game. Nerd Avenger on Nerd Avenger. Gotta love that Nerd Avenger on Nerd Avenger violence. I'll probably commentate a lot of those games. We'll have a good ass time. It's a really fun time. It'll be a refresh for the community. So if you can, come on by tonight at 7:30. If you're really into Rivals, play some games with us, man. We have a great ass time playing Rivals together. Or if you just want to chill with the community, it's a really good time, man. It's fun watching your fellow community members try to defeat each other, try not to mess up their ultimates and whatnot. It's a fun time. So, yeah, come on by for that at 7:30. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so should we talk about like how absolutely effed Warner Brothers and potentially Hollywood itself is? Oh man, this is a story that has been, I think, developing for the last couple of years. I mean, frankly, guys, like let's get a couple things out of the way. Just agree or disagree, chat. Okay, I want to know what you think about this. Did streaming help or hurt Hollywoods? I guess we should start there because I think streaming was obviously already a thing. Netflix had done an incredible job cultivating that, I guess, delivery system, the technology of like the recommendations, all of that stuff, right? So Netflix was always a big player in the game. But it's kind of wild how it all happened because right before the pandemic lockdowns, all of these things, the crazy stalls in production, Bob Iger has the bright idea to do Disney Plus, and Disney Plus is conceived as something like an online Disney Vault initially. I don't think it was actually seen as a competitor to Netflix initially. There were some comments made by Iger that it was even going to be priced as to not be competitive with Netflix, and it didn't even see itself as competitive to Netflix, which, by the way, I frankly think those ideas and concepts from when he first said that are actually still the reason that Disney is held back from being as popular as it could be. I mean, frankly, you have Hulu shows that do bigger numbers than Disney Plus, and I think that speaks to the consumer behavior and the patterns that consumers have with the behavior for Disney Plus, But regardless of all of that, you have them and other studios pursue streaming, looking at that Netflix money. They pursue streaming like hardcore. So then, because of lockdown and because of all these things, man, things got really weird. You had that one guy that became the CEO of Warner Discovery. I'm blanking on his name right now. I remember we talked about him quite a bit. And he came in and really shook things up. He was a tech guy, a Silicon Valley guy, not really a Hollywood guy. And he was the one that did things like release Suicide Squad on HBO Max and in the theaters at the same time. No, it's not Zaslav. It was the guy before him. He was the guy that did Kong versus Godzilla in theaters and on HBO Max at the same time. If you'll recall, they actually made an agreement to make all of their movies for an entire year, day and date launch on streaming with a Hollywood premiere. It's crazy. Like, dude, that was a wild pivot to get HBO Max, HBO Discovery to get the corner of the market a little bit on the streaming platform. So basically, I'm saying all of that to say that ended up not even being a good bet, I think. I mean, I suppose it depends on how you think of it. Disney specifically has so many assets and so many ways to make money downstream of the content itself that they're a little bit buffered from the failure of Disney Plus. But like, dude, Disney Plus was literally losing billions of dollars a year. I still don't know if it is profitable. If it is, then it barely became profitable, and that's like really, really, really recent. So even Disney Plus was not actually seen as a super profitable endeavor. And on top of that, Jason Kilar, that's the guy. Yeah. So on top of all of that, you could argue there was some serious brand damage done to Marvel and Star Wars because of the streaming shows and the pivot into streaming. Okay. But it wasn't just them. It was all the studios. And it wasn't just the studios that had streaming services, because they would shorten theatrical windows. Almost all distributors and producing studios would shorten the theatrical window because streaming was much more competitive. Now they've sort of adjusted back a little bit. And actually, Zaslav has been a part of adjusting this back to where you get like a pay one period, meaning Captain America Brave New World, it leaves theaters, and instead of going directly to Disney Plus for a couple of months, it's available through digital sales, digital rental, digital purchase on various digital platforms. But there was a time before Zaslav kind of reinvigorated that idea that the studios were literally like, maybe we don't need the pay one period, and instead we put it right into streaming. We bolster the value proposition of our streaming catalog, and we get more and more subscriptions. And that was the thought process, right? So that turned into a scenario where now I think you can clearly see that the box office is just so fucking diminished. And there's obviously a fatigue factor, but make no mistake, the shift to streaming was absolutely a massive part of this. And I think the digital distribution over theatrical distribution clearly changed things and hurt all of these companies. So we're in a weird scenario here where Marvel is basically pivoting. From what we've heard, Marvel is pivoting so hard that they're for all intents and purposes not really putting a lot into their Disney Plus shows. The Disney Plus shows are not going to be a place that builds the overall MCU story. They will technically feel as though they operate within that universe, but like Kevin is done using those shows as a way to tell the MCU story. And I think that's because it didn't fucking work. You know what I mean? It fatigued everybody. Everybody checked out. There was too much content. It felt like homework. And now it's to the point where, the best movie they've made in years is bombing in the box office. You know the story. We've been talking about it for weeks. So rough time out there. But for all that we give crap to Disney and we talk about how they hurt themselves, they hurt their own theatrical, they probably hurt theatrical in general, their market cap, their financials are actually way more secure than a company like Warner Brothers, which I've been trying to explain for a while now. But unfortunately, it's one of those things that's kind of hard for some people to wrap their head around. Well, lucky for me, the Hollywood trades took note of this because the S&P downgraded Warner Brothers Discovery to junk status on weak credit metrics. That would get much worse if the company splits. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's read this and try to decipher what it means. S&P downgrades Warner Brothers Discovery to junk status on weak credit metrics. That would get worse if the company splits. S&P downgraded Warner Brothers Discovery to BB Plus amid continued revenue and cash flow declines at its linear TV operations. Anything BB Plus and below is junk bond status for giant ratings agency. It reaffirms its negative outlook. It also said that from a credit perspective, it's not a fan of a possible Warner Brothers Discovery split, teased by CEO David Zaslav last week after internal reorganization split the company into two divisions, streaming and studios and global linear networks this month. Separation would be a credit negative, S&P said. Okay. Linear woes saw S&P lower its forecast for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization for 25 to 26 to about $9 billion for the next 3 years. That translates into expected leverage of 4.3x by the end of 2025 and 3.9 in 2026, heading in the right direction, but still significantly above the agency's 3.5 leverage threshold for ratings. S&P sees leverage remaining above 3.5 until 2027. Leverage is a ratio indicating the amount of debt compared to asset or equity. Okay, so that probably sounds really fucking weird and complicated. Let me try to break it down and explain it to you, okay? So none of these companies are usually using their actual profit to spend on production expansion, et cetera, okay? All of these, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of these companies have massive debt, okay? That's basically what leverage is. Leverage is debt, okay? So think of it like this. In terms of the stock market, if you just save a little bit of your paycheck each week and you buy some stocks or you buy some, stock contracts like options or whatever, you are investing and you're just taking a piece of your actual capital and you're investing. Okay? But if instead you're like, dude, this stock market's going to go crazy. This stock is going to go nuts. I need to take on some debt. Well, there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but sometimes you do it through the lender itself, through the exchange, or the I guess the people that are offering you technically access to the exchange. They can offer you leverage, and what that would mean is you would borrow a certain amount of money, and then you would buy your stocks or contracts off of the money you borrowed. Here's the problem, though. Do you know what a liquidation is? So a liquidation, basically, and again, I think the stock example is probably the best, or maybe if you're out there, you think of crypto. So it's basically like this, man. The person that holds the debt, in the example we were just talking about, it would be the exchange or the platform. They, as the price drops significantly, okay, because they want to mitigate their own losses, any asset that's purchased with the money they have lent, they have the ability to liquidate. Basically, it's like cutting your losses, okay? Man, this is getting Should we put this in terms of like monopoly money? I wish I would have started with monopoly money. I probably could have made a better example just if I would have been talking about monopoly. But the point is this. Right now, in by the end of 2025, they will have 4.3 times what they have in assets in debt. Okay? So what are their assets? I mean, Superman, DC and Superman, you know, the Discovery platform, or, you know, Warner Discovery, HBO Max, whatever they're calling it. That's an asset. Harry Potter, that's an asset. You know, the Sinners franchise, potentially asset. Their studios, lots, cameras. Yeah, so they have like all this. They have all this stuff. Okay, but you know what they don't have is like their own parks. Now, there are parks with Warner Brothers stuff in them. There are Universal parks. There are parks that use the Warner Brothers stuff, but it's not the same thing as what Disney has. Disney has like damn near total control of those parks, of the assets, of the franchises that they, I guess, technically license through their parks and all that, right? So Disney has all this IP. Disney has the parks. Disney has massive merchandising and consumer products that do really well, whether it's just, you know, your basic Disney stuff, Mickey Mouse ears and cute little headband bullshit things, whatever. Moms and everybody goes crazy for them. They have the Disney Plus platform, which thanks to Bluey actually churns, or actually rather holds pretty steady cash flow throughout the year. They have really strong licenses. So the licensed out stuff for Star Wars, Marvel, their bigger brands, really good. And it continues to actually sell enough that the licensee continues to pay for the license. And so it's pretty good. So I don't know what leverage level Disney's actually at. It might be just as high, but they have just much stronger assets. They have a lot more valuable stuff. And I would also say that if you look at, so one thing that I really thought of to try to like see one of the big differences is look at the Disney video games and the licenses that are doing well via video games for Disney, and then look at the licenses and the video games for Warner Brothers, right? So you have the Harry Potter game, which was very successful for them. You did have some DC games back in the day that were fairly successful. So the Arkham games, you know, I can't really think of any others, to be honest with you. But, I mean, Marvel, dude, it's insane. The Marvel games, even the Bluey games, they're absolutely ridiculous. You know, the Spider-Man games with Insomnia, what Fortnite's doing with Marvel stuff, it's crazy. So there's just a lot more value in all the assets that Disney has. Okay, so that's like a brief little explanation of it, but let's keep going here. Debt has been the company's bugaboo since Discovery acquired Warner's Media 3 years ago. Despite paying down billions, it's still a heavy lift. Now, the thing that's interesting about that is the debt is a part of the reason that Discovery was able to acquire them a couple of years ago. So this gets a bit complicated as well, but it's like one of the ways out of like bankruptcy or your lender liquidating your assets and like having a more adversarial relationship with you would be that you get acquired by another company. So it's like, y'all ever see Rounders? In Rounders, the homie owed a bunch of people all over town. The other guy went over it, bought up his debt, squared it with all the other people. So now instead of owing a ton of people a bunch of money, he owes one guy a bunch of money. Okay, so that's kind of what happens in these situations. So the very fact that Discovery was able to swoop in had to do with the debt. Okay, on linear specifically, S&P forecasts that their global take from networks will drop 20% to $6.5 billion due to accelerating revenue declines and evaluated content costs from newly acquired sports rights content coupled with its last year of NBA ratings in 2025. It sees advertising down 11% due to continued pressure on ratings and less sport than peers. It also anticipates distribution will decline 8% due to slower rates of price increases and more subscription fees being allocated to streaming in recent distribution deals. So, yeah, because, again, they're built on these sort of older models and they haven't adjusted well, and their assets don't necessarily work well into a lot of the new media or the new fields that are being created, they're kind of screwed. S&P changed its outlook on Warner Bros. Discovery to negative last year. Warner Bros. Total advertising and distribution performance has lagged peers due to its higher exposure to general entertainment content, weaker portfolio of domestic sports rights, which is further exacerbated by the loss of the NBA broadcast rights after 2025-24 season, and a smaller base of ad-supported streaming subscribers. The agency does not expect Warner Bros. To materially accelerate deleveraging through asset sales, but instead prioritize investments in its growth businesses, which will extend to the deleveraging path. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. That basically means it's not to the point where they're going to divest and they're going to start like selling DC. But I don't know. I still feel like that could be close, okay? So it's instead wants to invest in its growing businesses, and that will hopefully take it away from the deleveraging. It's talking about investment in streaming as Warner Bros. Discovery switched the name of its fast-growing flagship platform back to HBO Max, but even the S&P expects the pace to moderate in 2026 with ramped-up investment in content, marketing, and international expansion as it lands key markets like the UK. While the strategy may maximize its long-term growth potential, it signals a tolerance to maintain leverage above 3.5 threshold for the rating beyond 2026, the S&P said. So basically what they're saying is they have a ton of fucking debt. They think they can just expand their way out of it, but that means they're going to hold very high levels of leverage past 2026. That's not good. The agency noted that it has not factored in a separation of the company into its current ratings, but that move would be a credit negative. So this is kind of a warning shot to Zaslav from the investing class, and they're like, bro, if you split this shit up, it's going to get even worse for you. So we'll see. Comcast is in the process of splitting up its cable network. Zaslav and the CFO, Gunnar Weidenfels, both emphasized last week Warner Bros. Discovery has no specific plan at this moment to follow suit. While we are aware that Warner Bros. Discovery has made the decision to potentially split of the company, the separation would likely pressure ratings because it would weaken our view on the individual businesses, particularly the global linear networks company, due to an ongoing secular pressure in the linear television ecosystem, says S&P. All right, so that's a whole bunch of gloobly glob, man. If you made it through that shit, congratulations, man. Now let me try to translate to you. Let me try to translate. Okay? Zazzy came in and thought he could whip that shit up, fix it all, get back to old school money making tactics. This whole shift to streaming thing was too far. This tech guy didn't understand. He's a hard, like, businessman, understanding, expansion, cost cutting, this, that, second, and the third. I mean, remember Zaslav killed Batgirl. He was like, hell no, we're writing that shit off. They were like, it's Michael Keaton's Batman. He's like, I don't give a fuck. We're writing it off. So Zaslav has made some pretty aggressive moves. He's done a lot of crazy stuff. And it's ironic that Warner Brothers seems to finally be turning a bit of this around insofar as their movies have actually been performing pretty well. Now that's after a string of like terrible losses. And just they have had a really bad time. I mean, think about Joker 2, all of the other DC movies. Remember when James Gunn was like, I have a 10-year plan, but there's still a couple years left on this DC thing. We think Shazam's great. Blue Beetle's one of the best movies I've ever seen. Fucking Tom Cruise loved The Flash. None of that shit worked. And that all crashed and burned. So, well, what does this mean? Well, I think the most obvious thing that it means is if Superman underperforms, and remember, we have heard so many reports from various folks about how important Superman is to the studio, that the studio could be destroyed if Superman bombs. I think that picture now comes into focus a little bit more. I think we now understand a little bit more of how bad this could actually be if Superman really does underperform. You know, I sort of get a sense that a lot of Hollywood is trying to act like it's 2019 or 2020 still, and it clearly is not. And I don't think they've quite figured out whatever the new system is. And the new system, by the way, might be heavily aided by AI. You know, there are people out there. I don't know if it was James Cameron. It was either James Cameron or Ben Affleck or somebody else really high profile said that movies need to cut their budgets by 50% or the entire industry collapses. So AI is one way to do that. You know, literally cutting 50%. I mean, Thunderbolts is $200 million. There's no fucking way that movie should have cost $200 million. So that's possibly technology that's coming that will help these studios. The problem, I think, for Warner Brothers is, do they even have the ability to dig themselves out of this situation to even make it into the world in which their films are a lot cheaper to produce? You know, I'm not really sure. I'll tell you one thing for fucking sure, though. If Superman only makes like $400 million, then I think things are going to get rapidly worse. And I think you will see somebody buy Warner Brothers. That's my prediction. I think that basically what will happen is the credit score and what Wall Street thinks of Warner Brothers will basically death spiral. And in order to save the stock in any way, in order to save any of the value, they will announce like a merger or somebody's coming in, swooping in to purchase. And at that point, it really depends on who would be the purchaser. I think Universal is well positioned, unless I'm way off base with that. I thought there were rumors years ago that Universal was going to potentially buy them up, and I think that could absolutely happen. And it would depend, right? Because if that happened, it would be up to the new company to be like, okay, what are we doing with Superman? Because here's the problem. And by the way, I don't think this is going to happen. I actually think Superman will do pretty well in the box office. I'm starting to think Superman might do so well that it makes more than Fantastic Four. It could be like $1 billion thing. And oh man, would that be absolutely great for Warner Brothers. I think one of the reasons Superman is so important is because it represents the potential to have assets similar to what I've described with Disney. So if the DCU can flourish and work, you will have more licensing. People will want to license that stuff out a lot more. You will have the potential for even like parks and theme park attractions, video games. Not to mention, it'll drive numbers to, your streaming platform. If you have a show like Lanterns that is propped up by a cinematic universe that people are engaged with, that's very valuable as well, and could drive folks in attention there. So this becomes an ass, and we know it's not even up for debate. We know that Zaslav has wanted that for the longest time. He just wants the MCU, man. And the MCU, not only did it make billions of dollars in the box office, but the revenue it has generated outside of the box office is staggering. It's pretty wild, right? Merchandising, licensing through the parks, experiences, all sorts of stuff. It's nuts, right? So I don't know. I mean, I guess worst case scenario, Superman bombs, and then I do think James Gunn's vision goes away, you know? It'll probably be like when Walter Hamada or when Jeff Johns kind of took over Zack Snyder's vision. It's not like they stopped the canon. They just sort of radically changed it, and Snyder was no longer in charge. So that'll probably be what happens with Gunn. And I guess it would just depend on how you feel about that. I don't know. I have to see Superman. If I love Superman and this happens, like if it's a Thunderbolt situation where I love Superman, but it's not successful, oh man, that's going to be rough because, I mean, who's to say the next guy's going to do any better? And it kind of feels like these corporations are losing patience and they just want to make big spectacle. And I don't know that that's a good formula for the space overall, right? So I think there is a scenario that Superman is the death of Warner Brothers, right? I don't think that's likely, but I think it's a possibility, okay? I think another possibility is Superman does pretty well, and it just doesn't matter. Because, again, the theaters themselves are pretty diminished. Seems like there's massive superhero fatigue. So you could still see a scenario in which Superman does pretty well, but the long-term outlook here is not great. They can't get costs down low enough in a quick enough time to make an impact on the strict financials of the business. That would be weird. So that would be a situation where it seems like Superman should be fine and Warner Bros. Should be fine, but they might still be forced to do some pretty crazy stuff. Because, again, they have, like, the top movie of the year, almost made $1 billion, and they just got downgraded to junk status. So let's just keep in mind what's actually going on, right? And then, of course, the other scenario here, and, man, this will be bittersweet for me. It would be bitter fucking sweet, but if James Gunn's Superman is a big hit, and I mean, like, if it hits, like, 1.5 plus billion, then stupid-ass, weirdo-ass James Gunn might have just saved fucking Warner Brothers. 100-plus-year-old studio gets saved by the guy that made, like, the porno superhero movies back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy. What a world. What the fuck? But at the same time, I mean, I guess that would be preferable for it all going away and us shifting away from a plan years in the making when it comes to the DCU. So, yeah, I don't know. Dude, it's pretty crazy. Pretty wild times. You know, I'll say one other thing on this, man. Then we'll get into the leaks and whatnot. I have been absolutely fucking blown away at the advancements in generated AI. Google just had a presentation last night, and 2 different models have come out. And they're ridiculous. So I'm actually, you know what? Fuck it, man. I'll show you some of this. Because yesterday, we were actually just talking about how it might be fun as an experiment to take a day and try to literally make a Marvel fan film using complete AI and using all the knowledge I have from going to film school and whatnot, and just putting it all together to make a movie. Well, check this out. And by the way, Dave Clark actually follows me, which is pretty cool. I'm going to hit him up and be like, hey, bud, like, get me access to all this crazy shit. I want to make a movie on stream. But this right here, and it's not incredible. I mean, this isn't fucking Scorsese here, but I want you to watch this. This was 100. This is 100% generated.
When we get in there, I want no bullshit. You stay on my 6 at all times.
Stay sharp. These fuckers are nasty and dangerous. Stay alert. What the hell happened here? Where are the bodies?
a lot of shooting. Okay, so again, not Scorsese, right? But here's the thing that I think is important to keep in mind here. This is literally the worst that this technology will ever look. This is the worst it'll ever be. Okay? And if you've been paying attention to the progress of this tech over the past year, it continues to be mind-blowingly better each and every time. And there are all sorts of little aspects here that are just, frankly, scary good compared to models that were even at top line even just a week ago. So this is absolute insanity, man. And I truly believe that we are maybe less than a year away from being able to make seamlessly accurate, like high fidelity generated images, sounds, and even performances that will be, if not at the level of some of the high end Hollywood stuff, at least hitting the average of what Hollywood was able to put out. And that's kind of fucking wild, dude. Like that's kind of wild. I can't even quite anticipate what this will mean, how this will change the landscape. But it's wild that we live in a world where you have these studios. We're talking about Warner Brothers. We're talking about, Superman. Can they come out of this situation? Can they get costs down? How does this work? Et cetera, et cetera. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, the Ghibli art craze that took over the internet when the new image creation model for ChatGPT was able to create style, and so people started Ghiblifying everything? I don't know if you realize how big that moment was, but the platform ChatGPT, that whatever version that was, it was adding millions of users an hour. I remember they literally added 1 million users in a single hour. And that was like a crazy shock moment. And I think the reason, if you really look at what happened in that moment, it was because it was easy. It was because it was easy to do, and it became a trend, and it was like crazy. So like, dude, I don't know what the next version of like we're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to see what it could be. But I mean, what if, like, how like a certain trend hits with like a certain meme? Like, I'll give you an example, because like TikTok is like a microcosm of all of this stuff, right? So imagine a scenario in which a bunch of girlfriends and wives make computer generated meme movies that describe their life surrounded by a bunch of dudes that constantly mansplain them. And that sounds wild, but if they're high fidelity and they feel like actual horror movies and they're all really funny, the idea gets across easily, they're shareable, they're easy to reproduce, and you get to the point where people were like, I want to do my version of that. My husband always says this shit. I'm going to put it into this movie. Yeah, like I actually think that might be the future of entertainment. I don't know if that depresses you. I don't know if that excites you, but I almost feel like in the same way that trends right now capture the zeitgeist, and we have, memes and all these kind of creations, I almost feel like we will see visual art styles become trends, and then certain like prompting or generative trends that you have a base level artistic impression or input from the user, but because it's so shareable and social, it like blows up. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it's like, dude, I think it's possible that everything's about to change in like radical ways that we are not even grasping. Like, who's to say we even watch movies in 5 years? What if that's considered boring or like old fashioned? You know what I mean? Like, what if instead, like, you get a friend group together? Because we used to have things where you would get a group together and watch like Game of Thrones. You'd have like a watch party. Maybe it was like your work. Maybe it was just a bunch of your buddies, friends from college or whatever. Every Sunday you'd get together, have some good food, maybe some drinks, and sit there and watch Game of Thrones. Well, that sounds fun, but what if instead your week becomes, or your weekly tradition thing becomes, 4 or 5 of your best friends get there, you all bring some element or attribute, and you literally mix them all together, and you have a completely novel experience generated in real time that would take a little piece of each one of your desires and implement it into some completely novel thing that happens right then and there. Like that I think, and we're speculating, and frankly, like, I see a bunch of people in the chat that are, I don't know how I would describe it exactly, just either downplaying that as a possibility, or like, that's too crazy, or I'll always watch movies, this, that, second, and the third. I just don't think that's real. I think it's real in the sense that there's always a reaction or a rebuke of these things. And if you have ever looked at an adoption curve, do you know what an adoption curve is? So adoption curves are like, it's basically, it represents how a particular group of people come to accept or reject an idea, concept, or service. So you'll have a small group of people that are what are known as early adapters, and they just have the personality type of being more curious, less hung up on tradition, all of these sort of things. So they just are great for that first group. And then often you'll have like stragglers come in, and then there's this huge influx that will usually happen after something kind of becomes like socially accepted. We're just speculating, and I don't know for sure, man, but I strongly feel that a lot of people that say that'll never happen are not understanding that, like, the Minecraft movie is making more than both Marvel movies, and there's no fucking way that should be happening. Like, meaning you're not even appreciating the already right in front of your face data points that point to how much consumer behavior is changing. So, like, frankly, you're not a great your opinion is not as important to the conversation, unfortunately. Do you know what I mean? But we'll see, because it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right either. And I think right now a lot of people are trying to figure this exact thing out. They're like, what is the next version of this? And dude, I guess what I'm saying is this. It is really hard to go out on the internet, and literally yesterday, one of the oldest institutions in Hollywood has been downgraded to junk status as an investment. And you have Google, a $1 trillion tech company, demoing image generation that looks to make Hollywood productions go the way of the dodo. Like, if you can't see that, like, I don't know what to say. I personally am shocked by how some of this stuff is developing. I think it's really crazy. So, yeah, a little bit of a tangent there.
What the hell happened here?
But I actually think these two stories go together. I don't think you have the Warner Brothers downgrade without, frankly, the advancements in Hollywood production. Because remember, like, what good are all of the lots that Warner Brothers has if we don't shoot in physical locations anymore? Like, do you see what I mean? Like, a lot of this is connected, and Wall Street is very smart. If you want to know really how to assess the value or the potential cost of a thing, number one, you want to look at insurance companies and see how they rate and collect data, because it's a completely different metric that exposes like a lot of realities. But then number two, Wall Street. Like if you look at where the money goes, the smart money, and you look at where the insurance costs are low, you will find the next viable industries, you know? So this is a wild time. We'll circle back to this later, okay? Now, let's get into some Doomsday stuff. And this one is pretty wild, man. This one's pretty wild. So we spoke yesterday about that random guy that hopped the fence over at the Doomsday set. Do you guys recall this? Do you recall this? We talked about it. So there's some dude over in the UK that literally just hopped a fucking fence on the Doomsday set, which you won't have this once everything's just made completely generated, by the way. But this guy hops the fence. He goes into the set. He goes to the snack bar. He smacks Simu Louis on his ass. You know, it says, good job, good game. Go get him. He takes all sorts of photos. Spills the beans on some shit, okay? Yeah, so this guy. Well, guess what? He was at it again. He was at it again yesterday. So I'm going to read this article here. Unfortunately, the image was taken down. I think it got taken down everywhere. But I'll go over the article and I'll explain what's happening. Okay, Avengers Doomsday set leak may reveal the movie's surprising plan for Bob/the Sentry. Another leak from the set of Doomsday appears to reveal Marvel Studios and the Russo brothers' plan for the Sentry, and Bob may play a bigger role in the movie than we initially expected. Over the weekend, a fan managed to break into the Avengers Doomsday set. I mean, break in is putting it harshly, man. I guess technically he did break in, though. He shared footage of the cast trailers and Madripoor set. Now the leaker's taken to Instagram to share a map showcasing the Annie Reynolds house at an undisclosed London location. Most interesting is the fact that the house is labeled with void space. Actress Molly Carden played Annie Reynolds, the mother of Robert Reynolds, in Thunderbolts. While it's possible Marvel Studios is using code names, this seems to suggest that Bob/the Sentry will return to the void and confront his mother. We saw in Thunderbolts the way she reacted to her son's attempt to stop his father's violent outbursts played a pivotal role in the darkness that surrounds Bob to this day. It's interesting that the Sentry story will continue in this way, and it could be the way to either take him off the board or something that happens if and when the Golden Guardian attempts to trap Doctor Doom in the void. It's hard to make a prediction without proper context, but it sounds like this mysterious set invader has more material for the Doomsday set that they intend to share in the coming days. Oh, goody! Oh, goody, let's go. As noted, Bob will return in Avengers Doomsday alongside his fellow New Avengers, but Pullman recently confirmed that he's in the dark when it comes to his MCU future. Here's a couple interesting quotes. The only thing I've read is what we've shot already, which is technically the teaser at the end of Thunderbolts. The Top Gun Maverick star confirmed. Technically, that is a part of Doomsday. That was shot by the Russo bros. All I know is that Bob is in a state of idle hibernation. Ooh, interesting. He added, I think the Thunderbolts don't want to let him go because they don't know what kind of havoc he'll wreak. But they also want to keep him in case they might have to use him in the future. And then they flood it with SEO stuff there. Okay. So this is pretty wild. Now, the map, which again is hard to find, I guess technically it is still up at some places, but it was taken down on most big accounts. This is a map for something being built on the set of Doomsday. It seems like it's a house. It is called Void Space. And then there's Bob's room and his mother's room. Okay? Now, that's kind of interesting. Now, we don't 100% know what this means, of course. I have a couple of different theories, okay? I have a couple of different theories. I think it's basically one of two things. I think it's either the New Avengers. Actually, it's one of three things. It's either the New Avengers have some kind of a facility or a place where they can try to keep Bob idle. As he was explaining in his comments, he's in a state of idle hibernation. Does that mean that maybe through the barf technology that Tony Stark had, you have the ability for Bob Reynolds to revisit his past, maybe outside of the actual void powers, and therefore keep the powers at bay or something? That could be interesting. It could be the case that they actually have his mother there, and there's something about actually having him in his mother's house or a rebuild of his mother's house that keeps him in that state of hibernation. Okay, so that I think could be part of it. Another option, I think this is more likely, is this is some way that Doom will convince Bob to help him. There seems to be a lot of rumors indicating that Doom might be offering up what people truly desire, almost in like a monkey paw scenario, in order to have them join him. Okay? So mostly you've heard this rumored with Spider-Man himself, but this is potentially something that's going to happen with Wanda and the X-Men. This is a thread that kind of happens via House of M, because Wanda was trying to give everybody what they wanted ultimately. Like, she read their minds and tried to give them what she thought they wanted. So if Doom is smart enough and resourceful enough to go around the multiverse and capture or gather other versions of the Avengers, like a Hydra Cap, like maybe a Maestro Hulk, you know, these are all rumors. We don't know for sure. But if he has the ability to do that, then he would also have the ability to go grab up potentially a good version of Bob's mom. So imagine this. Like, he goes to Bob Reynolds and he's like, hey, man, I know you're troubled. I know you're incredibly powerful. And I know you like these guys and they're trying to help you. But they don't have the resources that Doom has. How would you like to have your childhood home back with a version of your mother that I found within the multiverse that's like sweet and loving and caring? I can give you that, Bob. I can give you what you've always wanted. And, you know, we don't know. That's just speculation. But I do kind of think that would be a pretty hardcore Doctor Doom thing to do. There was a report recently, too, that Yelena will actually be attacking the X-Men with Sam Wilson's Avengers team. So she might not even be with the new Avengers anymore. Maybe one of the reasons why is because she feels she has to go get Sentry from Doctor Doom or something, right? So that could be it. And then the third explanation, and maybe this is like the most obvious one, and I think this is the one where maybe most of your heads are at. Maybe this is another shame room, and it will have something to do with Doom, and maybe Doom and Sentry have a moment in the Void realm, but this will be when we find out that Doom is built different, you know? I don't know exactly how or why, but like, dude, I'm just telling you right now, there would be a really cool way to show how powerful Doom was if he was able to go into that thing and still remain in charge and potentially even like kick the shit out of the Void or something. I don't really know. But yeah, that would be really wild. Now, there's one other element here that makes it maybe even a little bit more interesting. And this is the concept art that was leaked a couple of months ago. And damn, there was a lot in there. But one of the pieces, and this was, I think it was one of the most popular pieces from the leak. Let me see if I can quickly find it here. It was somebody being chained up. So let's see here. Secret Wars leak chained up. It was a chained up person that seemed to either be on fire or be emanating some kind of crazy energy. I can't really find it easily, actually. Maybe one of you guys can find it. You've probably seen the image. And as soon as that image came out, there were a lot of folks. In fact, I'll just put Sentry in here. Maybe that'll. A lot of folks were like, dude, that's probably the Sentry. And it seemed like this was either in some kind of forge or like chimney almost. And so a lot of folks were like, you know what? I bet Doom takes Sentry and uses Sentry as like fuel for either his forge or his castle. Now, there's precedence for this because in the Doom, in Secret Wars in Hickman's run, there's no sun. And so Doom makes Johnny Storm the sun. So he literally like turns Johnny Storm into this like endless supernova ball of fire that becomes the sun of Battleworld. He turns Ben Grimm into a wall around his kingdom. Okay? So there's some precedence for Doom to be doing some super shady stuff like that and like utilizing characters as a power source, a lantern, whatever, you know? So because that image is out there and a lot of people are like, dude, that's got to be him. And also some people thought it might have been Florence Pugh that brings the prisoner in front of Doom. It does kind of look like Florence. What a twist if she has to bring Sentry to God Emperor Doom. I don't know. There's a lot we don't know, obviously. But dude, this dude hopped the fucking fence and took a photo that's apparently so crazy that Marvel's desperately trying to take it down. None of the scoopers are talking about it. None of the Reddit groups that I'm on are talking about it. So I don't know what it is. But I'll talk about it. I'll speculate about it, you know? I don't really know. But it does seem exciting, man. Sentry is probably the most powerful character in Marvel, the MCU right now. He can't fully utilize his power. That's what's holding him back, right? But technically, man, I feel like if the Void got full control, that's kind of like lights out. If Sentry went all in with his own powers, that's kind of like lights out. But Dr. Doom's about to become a god, right? Like Doom is Doom. So how would Doom deal with a character like Sentry? I think that's something we're all really interested in. My original thought was like, oh, well, they're just going to keep Bob weak because he's not mentally all there. And Doom would probably be able to mind control him pretty easily. Charles Xavier make Sentry fold like a lawn chair because of all of his trauma. So there's a lot of trouble for Sentry. But if they make him go all in, if he fully does Sentry stuff, and then Dr. Doom handles that shit, ooh, that's kind of tough. That would be kind of cool. So there you have it with that. And there's one little additional rumor here I want to bring up, and then we'll get into Q&A, guys, okay? So this one's kind of cool. We've all been wondering about what Dr. Doom will look like, and this includes, you know, the costume. This includes his actual face, etc., etc. So a couple of interesting things going on. We had, and by the way, according to Chris Claremont, he's playing 4 characters. So there could be multiple versions of Doom that he's actually playing, but let's just stick with one for now, okay? So we had the concept art, which shows 2 versions. Pretty traditional Doom, and then a Doom in the white God Emperor Doom, okay? We have the image from Downey's birthday invitation, which is fucking terrible. Please don't let that be it. We had the first image shared from the Russos, which was technically Boss Logic art, which made it seem like maybe he was more of an Iron Man variant. We've had a bunch of various looks, right? The Alex Ross art from the thing yesterday. Well, according to Chris Gore, who does have incredible sources, remember, Chris Gore was like the only person that knew about the chair thing. Now, he didn't know it was chairs, but he knew some massive announcement was coming, and that was the chair stuff. So Chris Gore, pretty good sources, okay? So let's go over a couple of things here. So it says here, looks like Alex Ross image used as placeholder, but who knows? Apparently Chris Gore said that the design that he saw is very evocative of characters from the classic Universal Monsters movies when talking to Nerd Erotic. And that sounds very much like the kind of thing that influenced the original character design. There was a post on this that someone tried to share here, but the sources are banned, so we didn't improve it. Apparently, yes, his face is indeed disfigured. The title of the now removed thread is Chris Gore says Dr. Doom is armored and his face is disfigured, like the old Universal Monster movies. Okay, so here's the problem with this. If this is true, then how is the character of Doom having the face of Tony Stark How is that going to be played off in the movie? Another problem, and I think I actually understand how this will work, but let me just lay out the problems. The other problem is that according to a lot of rumors, Doom will first pretend to be Tony Stark. Like, he's going to pretend to be a Tony Stark variant that is there to help save the Avengers and defeat the X-Men or something. Okay? So how can he do that if he's like, hey, I'm Tony Stark, but my face looks like Hamburglar? And they're like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know that it'll have the same effect. I also don't know that, like, you pay $100 million to Downey, you want him to look so much like Tony Stark that your characters are having an issue with it, your audience is blown away, and yet he's going to look like Hamburglar. It's like, wait, what? Okay, well, here's what I think it'll mean. Because I believe Gore, but Gore's probably seen something that's either concept art, makeup stuff, or like an actual set photo, right? I think it'll probably be the case that Doom first introduces himself as Tony, and he looks flawless. But that's probably either magic or technology or something that's hiding his true nature. And I think this would be a really clever way to, at the end of Doomsday, sort of flip and show to all of these heroes that it was Doctor Doom. Like, maybe something happens, either through fighting the X-Men or something else happening out there, Wanda, Franklin, who knows? And all of a sudden, all of the Avengers that have stood shoulder to shoulder with this Tony Stark variant the whole time, they see his face for what it really is. I mean, doesn't that seem cool? Doesn't that feel like a nice reveal? And then maybe that's when it's too late. And there's nothing they can do. And then he finally reveals himself to be Doom. And then maybe whoops everybody's asses and remakes the multiverse, right? So, yeah, this is kind of interesting. There's so much that we're curious about with Doom, man. I mean, we still don't fully know if it's a Stark variant or Stark was a Doom variant or if there's any connection at all, right? There's a lot we don't know. I have my theory, of course. I still believe that theory. But there's a lot of new stuff that's, like, hard to make sense of. So there you have it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another interesting bit of rumor here when it comes to Doctor Doom. And some really interesting stuff when it comes to the Sentry, too. So I'm sure you have some thoughts, comments, questions, and concerns. Let's jump in to the Q&A section of today's show. We'll go over the Super Chats, Member Chats, and we'll hang out in the chat. I just want to know what's on your mind. We'll do a little Q&A, and then we're going to get on out of here. Major Bricks today with a burger sticker. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Shalami Leaner says with a 10 spot, since Superman is almost coming out, what are some good comics to read to get ready? I already read All-Star, Birthright, and Kingdom Come, and I just started reading Justice League International. Dude, I think you nailed it. I mean, I think those are all great. You said you already read All-Star? Okay, you already read All-Star, Birthright, Kingdom Come. So I don't know that Gunn has even spoken about any other interpretations. I know he talked about Darwin Cook. I forget the name of that book, but it was like it was with Justice League International, the Darwin Cook run. They actually did a movie about that too, which is kind of interesting. New Frontier, maybe is what it was called. So that story's pretty cool. What other stories would I recommend? I mean, I don't know that this has anything to do with the movie, but one of my favorite Superman stories is Alan Moore. Alan Moore wrote some Superman. And I'm not talking about Supreme, because, of course, Alan Moore went on to write a lot of Supreme. But Alan Moore wrote a great story called, I think it was called What to Get the Man Who Has Everything, or something like that. So, yeah, I would check that out, man. I think that story is really fun if you're a fan of Alan Moore. It's really cool. Mr. Mixelplix, or however you say his name, he's a part of that story, and that's sweet. I also like, so I have this big book that sort of takes you through all the different ages of Superman, including like the stuff in the newspaper, the era when it was more adventure, galaxy hopping, time traveling, like hopping around, even with Olympic gods and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know. Is that a terrible answer? Is that a bad answer? I don't know. Joshua says, I love when Big J screams into the mic and it distorts. Oh, there you go. Jesse Pinkman says, horror is carrying Hollywood right now. Everything else is dead. Josh, please unban John Exler. He's big sad. I don't know what John did. I might unban him, but not anytime soon. Horror is carrying Hollywood right now. You know, horror certainly seems to be viable right now in the new marketplace. I think probably because it's cheaper to make. Seems to still have a draw, and there's like a fans that really love that genre. But there's also been some pretty terrible moves made within horror franchises, and for every one that does well, there's probably a couple that Hollywood is fucking up. So if you really take a step back, I don't know. There's probably just as many horror franchises being run into the ground as there are that are making the studio money. Vagabond of Light says, A+ financial lesson. # Gnostic Wizard. Yeah, was that all right? I don't know. I try to keep it as basic as possible while trying to explain what the deal was. I mean, Warner Brothers is just out there. They owe money all over town, you know? Holy shit. Joshua Campbell says, WW's Tig Old Biddies are Warner Brothers' biggest assets. Oh, yeah, no. You know what's funny about that, too? Where the fuck is Wonder Woman, man? Like, how are we talking about, like, Sergeant Rock and Clayface, and we don't have a Wonder Woman movie going? Supergirl looks incredible, and I think that's going to be dope, and Millie recently talked about that, and she's great. But, yeah, come on, man. Griff says, Corn Sweat looks like Wellington and Cavill. Moms will show up, as well as Smallville viewers. Nerd Vengeance for Life, Basement Crew. Yeah, I mean, we're going to see. You know, we're going to find out, man. I've seen a lot of data to suggest that, like, the awareness of Superman is through the roof. The interest in Superman is through the roof. But, like, what do those metrics mean for the actual box office? Like, I don't know that anybody was thinking that Minecraft was going to blow up the way that it did, right? So it's not like people were like, had this huge campaign and we had people saying like 250 million people watched the Minecraft trailer, right? Like, that didn't happen. And yet Minecraft is far and away the most successful movie of the year. So it's like, damn, bro. Kaylin J says, can AI pay my bills? Yeah, potentially. I mean, there's a number of ways to think about this. So there are things called AI agents, which are basically little AI operatives that will just do stuff online for you. So depending on what your business is, you could potentially have AI agents that are out there doing a lot to make you money. I know that there are some AI stock trading algorithm, driven bots that could potentially make you money that way. I think ultimately AI will be used to scale up a lot of what an individual could do. So in that sense, yeah, it would absolutely be able to pay your bills. But I think the golden scenario for most, like, just normal average folks is that there's so much value created because of the upscaling that I've been talking about that potentially bills in general go away. AI is so crazy that there are some people out there that are starting to think about what a post-labor world looks like. And I know that seems wild. It's maybe the wildest shit I've talked about all day. But I see many possible scenarios playing out, man. Kaylin J says, AI is soulless and can never replace the human spirit or consciousness. I just don't see it becoming a primary source of entertainment. Well, again, it won't be. I think this just comes down to semantics and just like how you think about it. There will never be, I mean, I guess you shouldn't say never, but I actually agree with your statement about AI. I don't think it has consciousness. I don't even think it's intelligent. And I actually don't even think, like, people talk about super intelligence. I'm not even convinced that large language models have actual intelligence. And they certainly don't have consciousness. At least, I don't think so. So you'll never have a scenario where, like, AI created consciousness is, like, desiring or doing things, creating art or anything like that. I truly don't ever think that'll happen. And if it does happen, it'll be so limited and soulless, as you put it, that it won't ever amount to anything. But the real truth of what I'm talking about is what happens when creative human input is accelerated to content through the technology. So I'll give you a couple examples here. I go on a whole fucking diatribe about this, right? But non-linear editing. Do you know what that is? Do you know what non-linear editing is? It's all the editing you do in Premiere, Sony Vegas, what's the one that Apple has? All of these different softwares, okay? Before non-linear editing was created, and it was created by George Lucas, actually, you had to literally do linear film editing, which meant you take the actual film, you literally cut it, and you tape it together, and there's only one way to do that, and that's from the beginning to the end. Okay? So I'm sure there were some people when this technology was being developed that were like, I love splicing and taping the actual film together. I love having to actually go scene by scene to get this reel put together. I think it's lazy and soulless if you put it all into a computer and then you just edit it on the computer and render it out. The audacity, right? There's not a single fucking editor alive today. Maybe I shouldn't say single. Maybe there's like one, right? But there's no editors today that are working in the industry that want to go back to the old way. Like zero. So it's less about the AI creating content. It's more like the human has a desire and preference and wants to create content. And what AI will do is, instead of like having to go get a labor union contract and having to pay all of these weird fees and licenses and have your big, beautiful, expensive camera sit in front of this house as the sun comes up to get that external shot that you really want, you will just create it. And you'll actually create like 100 versions of it and pick the one you like the best. Okay? So, and it's not a one-to-one either, because, you know, the thing I described with like your friends get together and you create a film together, that's basically like a joint shared prompt. It's more like a session of D&D, and it'll probably be very janky. But there will still be highly curated, like, pieces of art that use that technology, and eventually it's going to be seamless. You won't even know the difference. You know what? I'm going to take it even further. I'm going to take it one step further, because this is something else I've been thinking about that's like hard to explain. So fuck it. We'll throw it into this part of the stream. A lot of the things we enjoy in cinema actually come from the restrictions of having to use a camera and a lens. So I'm going to say that again. I'll try to say it slow. A lot of the things we enjoy from cinema, like a lens flare, a crank zoom, something over cranked, under cranked, certain ways that certain lenses catch light, you know, fisheye lenses, a lot of the things that we say we like within cinema are actually just causal factors due to the limitations of needing actual cameras and actual lenses to get the image. So in a sense, what I'm really interested in is, what does the next kind of movie look like when the new generation that doesn't feel restricted in that same way, like if you don't even need a fucking camera, if you don't even need a fucking lens, imagine the shots you could get. You could go from inside a bead of sweat on somebody's head as it drops down into the concrete and follow that through as it gets into the earth. And like, dude, I'm telling you right now, there's shit people have not even thought of because, again, our conception is so like closed in by the technology. This is actually something that I believe Kierkegaard talked about. How technology sort of precedes mental patterns of thinking, not the other way around. The paradigm created through technology sort of distills the paradigm within the human mind. So what will it look like when creativity is completely unbound? You don't need a camera. You don't need a lens. You can actually show anything. And I can't even quite, like, I've tried to process what that would even look like. I'm not even sure. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even sure. Can it all be done with CGI? So it can, but there are restrictions to CGI. And also, too, if you look at some of the stuff that's happening with CGI and lenses, is that the lens technology is technically so good at gathering light that it's beginning to make either photographic images or sometimes digital images look uncanny. You know what I'm saying? Like, uncanny. The Superman shot with the fisheye lens where his eyes go crooked, Gunn says, no, that's just caught in the lens. But he can't admit it looks weird as fuck. So this is an example of something that technically was captured in lens. It looks real in the sense that, yes, that's what the actual image, that's what it actually looked like. And yet it looks uncanny to the human eye. So, dude, we're entering a whole new world. Like, I cannot wait to see the shit that people dream up when these limits are gone. You know, it's crazy. Anyway, I spent way too long on that. Joshua says, dipping my fries in ranch right now. Ranch Avengers for life. That's disgusting. Kaylin J says, I hear you, but literally everyone plays Minecraft and Super Mario. These are huge IPs. I wasn't surprised by the box office. Oh, man, if you weren't surprised about box office, you're one of the few, brother. There were no signs, maybe right up until that first weekend, when you saw maybe some social media pop. There were no signs that it was going to be that good. It beat projections. It's gone on to crush projections. So, you know. John Cross says, happy Wednesday. Today is a great day to listen to the official Marvel podcast and hear Pew Pew and Pullman talk Thunderbolt spoilers. 12 Avengers Unite. I'm good. Appreciate you, though. Dirty Nap says, with the AI film, would you consider having Nerd Avengers voice the characters? No. Good way to get the community involved. Nope. Too complicated. Not going to wait around for motherfuckers to record voiceover. Hell nah. Terrible idea. Appreciate you, though. Jesse Pinkman says, you did say in Discord that you'd give John Exler one more chance. I was with him yesterday. He couldn't super or gift members. I laughed, but he said, yeah, forgiveness doesn't mean you get the privileges back that you once had. But I do forgive him. Joshua says, if you don't like ranch, you need Jesus. Oh, shit. Well, I really don't like ranch, man. So I don't know what that means for me, but yeah, I really don't like ranch. Imagine Unity movie through AI. Oh, maybe I've already done more than imagine it. Maybe I've started building it. Yeah, so you know the thing about Unity that's really cool? I own it. I can do whatever I want with it. In fact, I could sign a non-exclusive deal with a certain AI company to give them full access to the catalog to make it, yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see. There's just all sorts of stuff you could do. Caleb says, how do you think actors, directors, and other in the industry will evolve with AI? Will they give in or stay traditional? Much love. Oh, man. I mean, I think you'll probably have a combination. It's probably a little bit like digital film, like a lot of these other advancements. So I remember I watched one time Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino argue about film versus digital. So Tarantino's like really old school. He likes film. He likes lenses. You know, he shoots everything on film. Rodriguez is like totally the opposite. He's an all-in digital guy. He loves the digital tech. He was an early adopter, you know? So using crazy, like Sin City, bro. Go look at those, the way they shot Sin City. Kind of crazy. So you'll have some people that like it, some people that don't. You'll have people that stay in the traditional lane. You'll have people that adapt. What I'm most interested in is what does the next generation of filmmakers look like that were raised more on social media than movies? And how are they going to use this tech? Like, what does it look like when we start getting like P.T. Anderson, Tarantino, James Cameron level creatives, completely unabated, access to this technology, able to make any image with high fidelity that they want? I mean, I'm sure you'll get a lot of bullshit, but you might be getting like some really incredible stuff at a much higher frequency. I don't know. I mean, we're speculating. I don't know. Optimus Prime Rib says, incorporate before or after starting YouTube. I don't know what that means, brother. It says on my screen, I don't know what you actually typed in there. Yeah, it says incorporate, and then it has OBJ. Incorporate OBJ before or after starting YouTube. I don't know what that means. Braden says, to say the Minecraft movie had 0 signs of success is a little wild. Is that what I said? It's only the most selling video game of all time. Well, then why were the Hollywood projections so much lower? So I didn't say that it had no signs of being successful. It's not a success. It's a smash success. It's a shocking fucking success. Okay? So number one, I didn't say that had 0 signs of success. What I said was the entire industry was taken off guard at how successful it was. Those are different things. Number two, sure, it's the most selling video game of all time. Then how or why did all of the analysts get it wrong? Why is everybody shocked by it, except for you 5 people? Ethan says, could we see a full CGI suit for Spidey and Doomsday and Tom just send voice lines in? So I don't know that it's going to be that extreme, but I think the point you're making, which is actually a good one, the amount that they can do with very little is crazy. Remember, Captain America has 6 minutes of screen time in Avengers Infinity War. 6 minutes. 6 minutes. So you can do a lot with a little. He was a very impactful part of that film, and I think Spider-Man will be impactful much the same way. I think he'll be in the movie. I think he will film for a couple of weeks at least, and you can get a lot out of that. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting, but I don't think they're going to have him just like, because even Pedro probably shot at least a couple of days for Mando Grogu, although he was not there a lot either. This will trigger you, but if it wasn't your job, I think you'd actually like the last episodes of Andor. Also, did you see Zahn complaining about Filoni re-Thrawn? Yeah, 2 things. So number one, the thing about Zahn was out of context. This account said that shit wrong. I looked into this because I was shocked by it. I was like, yo, what's the deal? My man Zahn is talking shit on Dave? That's crazy. That's actually not what he said. What he said was he didn't know if it was Dave or Disney, but he disagreed with some of the things being done to Thrawn. That's what he said. So this account lied, as far as I can tell. And then as far as like watching the last episode of Andor or enjoying it, a lot of people have told me the last few episodes are good. I would imagine they are. I mean, I don't really know what to say. It doesn't trigger me, but it's just like a weird point, right? I think what you're trying to say basically is like, I really liked the last episodes of Andor, and I think you would too. And I guess the way I would answer that is, yeah, maybe in the multiverse, there's a world or a universe where I did enjoy Andor, but it's not this one. Overbound says Warner Brothers also has DC licensed out to Six Flags for real cheap, resulting from when they sold Six Flags off. So they can't even make money at the theme parks with DC and Looney Tunes in the USA. Wow, really? Well, I certainly don't know all the details of that, but I think it's pretty obvious just looking at the market cap between Disney and Warner Brothers that whatever Disney has going on, and I mean, they're doing one in Abu Dhabi, right? So like, dude, these parks must be doing well. That's pretty crazy. And there's a lot of assets that come with that. So they're obviously in a much better place than DC. I didn't know about the Six Flags thing, but that makes sense. That tracks. Van of the Black says, once Hollywood takes that leap in the future, moving on without actual actors is better for all. In fact, a future without Hollywood is even better. Yeah, you know, this is one of the things I'm really curious about, because Hollywood, in a lot of ways, is like a cornerstone of propaganda. It's, I think it's a tool for social elite. And I think that one of the greatest American exports over the last 50 years was actually our culture. And that was curated through Hollywood. I think that the Hollywood accounting and the banking stuff that happened in Hollywood was actually a part of the gatekeeping, and it was done intentionally to assert more control over the propaganda, the exporting of American culture, all that, okay? But something really interesting has happened, and it even happened before AI. This actually is more to do with like alternate media and streaming and YouTube. Guys, like, this is going to sound fucked up, but I think most people that work in Hollywood right now as like in a sort of labor position, maybe a grip on the production team, or they build sets, or this, that, second, and the third. Those people are probably all going to be working for YouTubers in the next 5 to 10 years. Like, that's just the way I see this going. Because one of the things that YouTube was able to do, and I guess streaming to a degree too, so some Twitch people like, Kai obviously changed the game over there. But what the YouTubers were able to do is utilize the platform and figure out a way to like make it fiscally viable. So Hollywood has been losing money forever, and the Hollywood accounting has been able to like basically use the fact that they don't make money to, I don't know. I mean, can we just say launder at this point? Like, I don't know. I don't want to accuse them of anything, but we know how shady it is over there, right? Conversely, most independent creators or YouTubers, they don't have the option to do that. It's not like you can be over leveraged creating YouTube content. You have to make it viable. Either you have to come in under a certain cost to make it viable, which you see a lot of the time, or you have to justify the expenditure with big numbers, like, your Mr. Beasts or your other channels that max for views. So a lot of those people have been doing what Hollywood producers used to do, and I think they've tapped into some skill sets and ways to connect to audiences that Hollywood has kind of forgotten about. So I hope Hollywood goes away. Not because I hate Hollywood, but because I hate the control and the centralization that Hollywood had. I mean, this is something that George Lucas hated. This is something that Mel Gibson has hated, when he was trying to make Passion. And it's... Hollywood's not a great town. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a great town. I think it's done a lot of shady stuff. I think it has a good history in a sense. I love a lot of these classic movies, big actors and all that, right? But at the end of the day, you kind of... There's a part of me that just kind of understands that that's like... That was actually just propaganda, So what does the world look like when you have a bunch of artists able to make high-fidelity film, high-fidelity moving images, stories, media, YouTube videos, documentaries, television shows, long-form movies, like all sorts of stuff. And they have no gatekeepers. They can do anything they want with unlimited budget because of the tech. They don't have to necessarily have an agent. We'll see. We'll see, man. Right now, Matthew McConaughey's doing some stuff in Texas There's some people doing stuff in like Europe. There's people doing stuff in New York too. You might see a decentralization, right? A decentralization away from the Hollywood control. And if other independent studios or even just independent people start putting out some really great work, if it becomes viable on a big platform or something, I mean, look what Mr. Beast did with Beast Games, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but I actually think moving away from Hollywood could be quite good as well. Yeah. Steve McTeague says AI actors don't age or require massive contracts. They also don't get into political discourse. They don't say anything flagrant. They don't end up going to islands or certain parties with baby oil. There's a lot of things that AI actors don't do that I could see as potentially attractive to particularly big brands. Big brands and companies, right? Callisto says with a 10 spot, how did your Dark Angels finish last night? Last I saw it was close. Also, just bought The Great Wolf. I'll be starting that one as soon as I finish Path of Heaven. Thank you, Callisto. Last night, man, we had a great game. Now, it took a long time. We basically stopped at the top of round 4, and I'm technically down, I think, 10 points, but I have 9 points in secondary missions that will score at the end of my opponent's turn, which I think I'll be able to score. So it's a very close game. Part of the reason the game took so long is because we were both playing new armies. So if you know your army very well, the game goes fast. If you don't, you have to constantly look shit up. So it was kind of it took a long time, but it was very fun. I appreciate the question and the support. Rodolfo Torres says, I own a junk removal business in Denver, and I just found 3 binders full of 90s DC, Marvel, and D&D trading cards. They're amazing. Whoa, nice, man. Yeah, maybe you got some good hits there. You can either sell them or keep them for your personal collection, but that's fun, man. That's a good find. Hell yeah, man. That's cool. That's real cool. I feel like I'm going to sneeze, but I'm not like quite at the sneeze. Y'all ever have that? Wait, here it comes. Here it comes. All right, chat. Let's hang out in the chat for a little bit here. Just see what's on your mind. Man, we got heavy on some AI talk today, huh? I didn't really expect that, but I guess it serves me right. I did bring it up. That Google shit is crazy, though. Like, the potential's wild. Yeah. Dude, I've been sneezing like crazy recently. Is it that time of year? I don't know. I usually don't I don't think I get allergies like that. But I guess maybe I am. I don't know. I guess maybe I am. How many tacos is too many? I think if you're still putting the tacos in your front end as they're coming out of your back end, you've probably eaten too many. Never realized how easily triggered you get. I'm not sure what that's about, but now I'm really triggered. So thanks. You can develop them later in life. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. Josh, that image you wanted is in the Discord. Okay, let me see. Oh, yeah, that's it. That is it. I'll pull this up. Oh, you guys already see. Look at that, man. That's cool. So what do you think? Could be Sentry? Kind of looks like Bucky, too, but the flames are very interesting. Very interesting. I wonder if it's Sentry. Yeah. I got into comics because of comic cards. Oh, dude, those Jim Lee cards from back in the day, dude, those are awesome. Have you cleaned your AC filter yet? No. Nope. How about the new Superman photo they dropped today? Probably the best the suit has looked. I saw it. Yeah, it looks cool. Man, I got to tell you something. I don't like to complain. You know, I don't like to say I told you so and all that. You know, I'm super humble. You know, maybe the most humble, actually. In fact, I am the most humble. But I got to say, something been bugging me a little bit, okay? let's just keep this between us, chat. Let's just keep this between us. When that Superman trailer first came out, I said it looked bad. And there were so many people that were like, what are you talking about? It looked great. It looked great. I was like, no, it fucking doesn't. And here's the thing. Now it looks so much better. Have you seen all those images? People are doing the side-by-sides, and they're like, dude, this looks so much better. I am so butthurt that so many people out there are like, dude, it looks so much better. But they couldn't realize that I was right at the time. Like, at the time, when I said it didn't look good, I was fucking right. Okay? And now it looks much better. And I think it looks much better. And I'm excited because it looks much better. My God, I was right. Like I always am. Anyway. We knew it was not the finished product. That may be true. But that doesn't explain all the people that said it looks great. If all the people had said, you know what, it doesn't look great, but it will, I wouldn't be bringing it up. RG? RG? You know what I'm saying? You understand? I still think it looks bad. Yeah, some people still think it looks bad. And it doesn't look perfect, but I would just argue it looks much better. The flying sequences especially look incredible. The goofy-ass kaiju monster looks less goofy. The overall balance of the lighting and the color correction looks great. It looks so much better. It still looks bad. There's definitely some parts that don't look incredible. But I think for the most part, it looks a lot better. A lot better. I'm sensing more hype for Superman over Fantastic Four. I think you're right, dude. I kind of can't believe it. If you would have told me this a couple of months ago, I would have spat in your face probably. But you're right. Definitely seems that way, bro. Which is unfortunate. Unfortunate. Yeah, bye-bye 500. I know, right? No! That could have been a whole new tank for my Custodes. Yeah, if Superman makes more money than Fantastic Four, I owe Brandon Davis $500. Yeah. Yeah. Which is a shame. Maybe the fans will win by both movies being great. Yeah, that would be awesome. And if Fantastic Four just makes a little bit more than Superman, then I'll be all good. That'd be great. Yeah, $500, yeah. You won't be paying that money? Well, I hope I won't be, but I'm a man of my word, man. I bet Skylar Schuler $500 that Tom Cruise Iron Man would show up in Multiverse Madness. And I paid that promptly. Which also was like the stupidest bet I'd ever made, because I was literally talking to people that just watched the movie and they said, he's not in there. And I said, you either missed it or they're going to add it for the wide release. And it wasn't there for the premiere. And the guy was like, that's not a thing. And I was like, shut your mouth. And then I lost $500. So. You know, you win some, you lose some, I guess. Oh, no, that was pure delusion. That was like you're on a 4-day bender of pure delusion, and you're cutting up another line in the back of the car. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of illusion, you know? But it felt great. It was an incredible time. You know? I felt so alive. Soups has more popular name. Tough bet. It is tough. It is tough. I felt more confident back then, though, because I was like, dude, like, Marvel's making a comeback. You know, Fantastic Four looks great. Galactus, oh my God. Downey's Doctor Doom in the movie for the first time. I was like, there's no way. Dude, Downey in the post-credit scene, that's enough for an extra $1 billion. And then Thunderbolts came out, and I was like, dude, this movie's the fucking best. Wait, nobody's going to see it? What the fuck? So now I'm worried. Joshua says Guy Gardner looks like Ayaz. Yeah, Guy Gardner still looks pretty rough. Not gonna lie. Yeah. Hey Josh, how much did you spend on that Daredevil Coca-Cola again? Anyway, Nerd Venge for life. Clap, sock, fire. Yeah, we spent a couple bucks on that. Yeah, we spent a couple bucks. You know, occasionally, every once in a while, I will crave a Coca-Cola. You know, I like Coke. And I like Coca-Cola, too. And occasionally, I'll get a craving for it. You know, you want that taste. And I'll often think back to a time when I had more fucking Coke than I knew what to do with. Strange world. Strange life, you know? Mr. Falcon says with a 5-spot, hope you and the fam are doing well. Thanks for all the hard work you do for the community. Looking forward to a rival stream tonight. Oh, hell yeah, man. It's going to be fun. And yeah, man, we're working. I got a lot going on. I'm building a lot of Warhammer content because I'm slowly trying to get my entire community into Warhammer. So there's a lot of that I'm working on. Trying to get Unity continued to move. Definitely slow going on that. And then I'm trying to come up with some bangers for the old YouTube, for the old den of nerds, you know? Like, we need some bangers, man. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. A couple of our videos on the Clips channel have gotten higher views than the main channel lately. And I'm like, what the fuck? So, I don't know. Gotta make some more bangers on the main channel, man. I want some bangers. You know? Holy shit. So, thank you, though. I appreciate the support, man. Always grinding. Always grinding. Josh, with the vast content it has, do you think Warhammer needs its own channel? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Warhammer needs its own channel, and then we also need it to spill as much as possible into the live streams. And onto the main Den of Nerds channel. So, I have a Warhammer dedicated channel, and I'm building content there. I have ideas to do Warhammer streams on this channel. And then I even have ideas to make Warhammer videos on the main Den of Nerds channel, but they have to be different. They have to be like sort of catered for the Marvel audience. So, yeah. Let me get a quick Warhammer rundown. There's no such thing. There is no such thing. Are we still doing the tournament? I don't know. Let's talk about that tonight. I mean, part of me wants to do it. Part of me's like, this was never a good idea. We'll talk about it tonight. I think we should do something like it. I just don't know that I want to do a whole tournament anymore. I need a Warhammer show first. Yeah, that would be a really good first step. And luckily, there's somebody working on it. So hopefully that goes well. Yeah. All right, everybody. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for hanging out, chatting it up. Kind of a weirder week. A lot of, I mean, I guess it's just been light, man. We've been light on news. I look forward to gaming with you guys tonight. I think that's going to be really chill. Hopefully some big news drops. Otherwise, you know, we'll just keep doing our thing. And there will be big news eventually. And fun stuff that we'll do together as well. So constantly trying to kind of reevaluate the streams, the content. How do we keep having fun together? How do we keep having good experiences? So I'm working on that as well. But that's going to do it for today. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Leave. Oh, man. Another happy landing. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, you just got here? Sorry, bud. We're done. We're done today. So sorry about that. So sorry. Anyway, hey, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here, man. You know, we've had it's been very slow. Like, dude, it's been weirdly slow. And even today I was like, you know what? There's 2 stories I can think about, maybe 2.5. I was like, you know, I could work on videos. I could go paint some Warhammer. But no. I'm showing up for the Nerd Avengers. I'm showing up. We're going to do a goddamn show. I'm going to make everybody mad about AI. And then we're going to clip it out, put it on the Clips channel. We're going to keep it going. You know? So don't say I never do nothing for you. Hell yeah. Josh says, happy birthday, Josh. Nerd Avengers for life. Jesus Christ. Okay. I'm out of here. We are so lucky. I know you are, Adam. All right, everybody. Much love. I'll see you soon. Do me a favor, though. Would you? Just open up your third eye there. And wash out your stinky butthole. Okay.